The dark slide. So, this topic is one of the more dark topics. I wanted to briefly contemplate the ideas of darkness, kind of the idea of the forbidden fruit, and how people actually come to doing dark things and committing dark acts. Um, Now, this, and for the purposes of this channel, this could mean like cheating on your partner, uh, hurting someone you love, whether it's a domestic dispute or something like that. So, um, my main idea and premise on this is that a lot of dark things that people do happens little by little. It happens in small, ever advancing measures, and those measures are rationalized at every step. And the higher the measures go up, what ends up happening is the person ends up doing something. A lot of times, they end up doing something that they never intended to do, but then it was really bad. Now, the difference between a person doing this and a person who calculated doing something eventually, like they wanted to do the thing that they eventually did, then, that is something that I think has to be kept in mind. Because if you premeditated cheating on your partner, it's different than actually, okay, well, I met this person, I said hi, and then it escalated further and further. A lot of times with the cheating situations, sometimes the people didn't mean to do it. They just kept they were in a situation where they kept themselves in an environment where whatever could happen could happen. They didn't isolate themselves. A lot of times people don't see the dangers. A lot of time evil, it operates under the thresholds of detection. So people are oftentimes talked into doing things without even realizing that it's happening. Um, so, um, for example, there's a psychological technique called the foot in the door technique, where if you can get something small from someone, you can get something really big from them, but you have to take it again a little by little. So if you're trying to talk to someone, you can just say, hey, just 30 seconds is all I need. And you could end up talking to them for 5, 10, 15 minutes, or even an hour. Um, the opposite of that technique would be, I forgot what it's called, but the technique is essentially when you present something big, some big thing that you want from the person. But then, if they refuse, then you say something very small. And then the small thing was actually the thing you wanted and not the big thing. So you're kind of, there's a lot of little small psychological tricks you can use on people. Um, I actually wanted to cover in the next video. Actually, yeah, so another thing I noticed about darkness and about evil is that oftentimes social status can kind of circumvent people's moral values. And you can find yourself agreeing with someone on something that's completely wrong. But the reason why you agree is because of the status that they have in your particular environment. And that's something that I think is it has already been examined in psychology. We've already had like this Stanley Milgram experiment, for example. Um, there was an experiment where they asked people questions in a room full of people who uh, were asked the same questions, and the people who were in the room, there was one person in the room, and then there were other people in the same room, and the other people in the room would answer a question incorrectly, and eventually the person in the room would actually cater to the group consensus, for a lot of different reasons. I don't think it was just for one reason, but part of it was that a lot of the people in the room, like it was like this herd mentality. I think that's one of the biggest aspects of darkness in is the group, whatever the group does. Um, Group consensus can kind of easily be turned into something very dark. we can kind of see in Germany in World War II, a lot of what happened uh, dependent was very heavily dependent on group consensus to allow that to happen. Um, and yeah, so Slide to Darkness is definitely worth a conversation. There's a lot more there. There's a lot more techniques. There's a lot more ideas. There's a lot more esoterics behind it. But this is just the tip of the scale. The Slide to Darkness.